we are going to discuss about the third experiment, which is maximum. I think, are you able to see my screen? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Okay, so now, so this is our third experiment. Experiment number 3, maximum deflection in a continuous beam with the combination of loads. So continuous beam is nothing but a beam which is supported on a more than two supports. If there are more than two supports are there, whatever may be the support, whether it is fixed support or rigid support or roller support, if the number of supports are more than two, we'll call it as a continuous beam. So here in this case, he has given three supports, two fixed supports and one roller support is given. So therefore, this is a continuous beam. And they said that it is a combination of loads. So combination of loads means there are different types of loads also should be there in the given problem. So if you look at this picture here, you have a uniformly varying load and you have a point load. In addition to that, you have a displacement load also. This support is sinking by 30 mm in the downward direction. That's what he has showed. So this displacement is also some sort of loading on the structure. That means here these two fixed supports, they are rigid, whereas this roller support, whatever roller support is there, it is not a completely rigid. It is somewhat flexible, so that's why it is deflecting by minus 30 mm. So that is the meaning of this combination of loads. So apart from that, everything I think it is okay now. So everything is similar to the previous problem. So if you want to solve this problem using software, so the procedure is same. What we did in case of that overhang beam is there. So we need to do the same thing here also. Right. So therefore, so what you do is, so in case of a earlier problem, we have taken beam 188 as an element. So we already discussed about that also. So beam 188 will have two nodes and there are 6 degrees of freedom for each node. So those 6 degrees of freedom are 3 translations and 3 rotations. So now in this particular problem, since I have a uniformly varying load here, so to capture the variation of shear force and bending moment accurately, what I'll do is we'll go for another beam element which is called beam 189. So which is having 3 nodes. So if you know, I think you already studied your FEM. So you might have studied in that FEM course, that is while studying about initially bar. So 2 node bar element and 3 node bar element, something like this. So we'll call them as 2 node element is going to be the basic element. So if you go away from the 2 node element, we'll call it as a higher order elements. So here this is also an higher order element. So based on how the displacement is going to vary in a element, so we'll classify the elements into a lower order and then higher order elements. So anyway, so that is our theoretical concepts. We are not going to discuss all those things now. So here what I want to say is this is a 189 element having 3 nodes per element. Of course, the degrees of freedom are same as your 188. So the degrees of freedom are 6 degrees of freedom. So 3 translations and 3 rotations. So in case of even 189 also. So if you come to the problem, first if you come to the aim of this experiment, so we need to determine what are the support reactions and also we need to find out what is the maximum deflection. Here we are adding one more thing. So I want to compute what is the deflection. What is the not only deflection. So if you want, I can calculate the deflection curve also. So in addition to the deflection curve, I want to find out what is the maximum deflection and where it is occurring. So that is we are adding additionally in this particular problem. Similarly, I know how to draw the shear force bending moment diagram for a beam problem. We'll use the same procedure to draw the shear force bending moment diagram also. Okay. So that is the aim of this experiment. Then if you come to the description, like I already told, it is a continuous beam which is subjected to a variable load of 30 kN per meter from A to B and B to C. In between, at the mid span, you have a point load of 10 kilonewtons. at both ends, left hand and right hand is fixed, and in between at point B, it is having a roller support, and the roller support is not a completely rigid one. It is somewhat flexible, so it is deflecting by, because of the loading, it is deflecting by 30 mm downward. So now, if I talk about the analytical solution for this, so you need to apply our theorem of three moments. So to compute first, what are the support reactions and bending moments at the supports. So that's what I shown here in this picture. So that is the analytical solution. So you can take this, we can take this one as a reference for comparing our solution from the ANSYS. So, but only thing here is what we do is, so here you don't have a deflection analytical solution for a deflection. If you want, you can solve it. It's not going to be a tedious process. So you can easily Macaulay's method. If you use Macaulay's method, you can easily find the deflection. Once you know the support reactions and forces, support reactions in the sense, complete sense, movements and shear forces. So then you can usually apply your Macaulay's method and you can find the deflection also. Maybe if you are interested, you can do that. But in the problem or in the results, what we'll do is we'll verify again with this shear forces at many moments only, because for that I am providing the analytical solution. So you compare this with respect to the your ANSYS results. Then try to calculate what is the percentage of error. So now for that, what he has given is, so the beam description is given here, which is 15 meters length, and the cross section is he has given it as a circular cross section of diameter 250 mm, and a modulus of velocity is 200 GPa. So it is Young's modulus he has given it as 200 dPa. So these properties are enough to solve this particular problem. So I is calculated based on the cross-sectional details, and modulus of velocity is already given. So but only thing here again what we'll do is, since here the load is in kilonewtons, we'll try to convert this 200 GPa into kilonewton per meter square. So this one also. So that your units will be consistent throughout. So here length unit will take it as meters. Since this deflection delta V has given it as mm, we need to convert this one is also in meters. So these are the things we need to remember while modeling this problem in the software. So now once you've done that, so now I want to model this one as this problem in the software. To do that, again what we'll do is we'll use indirect approach. That means first I'll create the geometry, then I'll create elements and nodes from the geometry. So to create the geometry, in the sense, what I need to do is first I need to create the key points. So those key points will be located at, so first I'll take one key point at A, and that means span AB, I'll take one line, and if I take a midpoint to this point from B to, let us say if I take this point as D, B to D one line, and D to C one more line. That means I will divide this entire beam into 3 line segments. So from A to B, which is a 9 meter span, then from B to D, which is 3 meter span, again D to C, another 3 meter span. So that means first I'll create the 3 lines. So to create those 3 lines, I required endpoints for each line. So I'll take at A, at B, at D, and at C. I need to create 4 key points. So those 4 key points, how I can create it is just by knowing its XYZ coordinates, I can create the key points in the software. So I'll fix the origin of the coordinate system at point A. So then based on that, I can identify the coordinates for those 4 key points. So at A it is 0, 0, 0, X. See here, there is no variation along Y and Z direction. So obviously Y and Z are 0 for all the key points. Only I need to identify what is the X coordinate. At A it is 0, at B it is 9 meters, at D it is 12 meters, at C it is 15 meters. So like that, by defining the X coordinate for all the 4 key points, I can create 4 key points. Once I done that, then I need to join these key points through straight lines. So A to B, similarly B to D, and D to C. I'll join like that. So once I've done that, then I need to convert the geometry into a FE model. So for that, here in this FE model description, I have given that I'm considering 75 elements having 151 nodes. So obviously each node is each element is having 3 nodes. So if I compute the total number of nodes for the 75 elements, they come out as 151. So that means while defining the size control, so the total beam is need to be divided into 75 elements. So what I'll do is throughout the beam I will take a uniform division, means each element length is same. So therefore the total length is 15 meters here. I want to divide this 15 meters into 75 elements. So in that case, what I need to do is 15 divided by 75. Each element length I have to calculate. Then the length of each element will become 15 by 75, which is comes out as 0.2 meters. So by first specifying the number of divisions, then I will mesh these lines to convert them into FE model, to convert the geometry into FE model. So that is about how you can create the geometry and then you can convert into the FE model. Once I done that, then next we need to apply the loads and boundary conditions. So here first I'll apply the boundary conditions. That is, this end is fixed. That means at A it is fixed, at C it is fixed. Fixed in the sense all degrees of freedom are constrained. So like I already told, each node has 6 degrees of freedom. So fixed in the sense I need to apply all these degrees of freedom are zeros. So at A and C, I'll constrain all the 6 degrees of freedom. But at B, I need to constrain only in the y direction, and also that constraint will be the displacement is 30 mm. So that means in negative direction that also. So I need to take 30 into 10 power minus 3 in the negative direction at point B. So with this, I applied the constraints. Then I need to apply the loads. So here, to apply this load here, what happens is, so a point load directly I can apply. It is straightforward. I can easily apply the point loads. So now, point load, the only thing is, I need to identify what is the location of this point load. That point load is acting at a distance of 12 meters from the left hand or 3 meters from the right hand. Since always I'll specify with respect to the origin of the coordinate system, I need to take A as a reference. So this point load is acting at a distance of 12 meters. So therefore, I need to identify the location, or I need to identify the node which is located at 12 meters from the point A. So then for that node, I'll apply this 10 kilonewtons. So then similarly, I need to apply this support which is located at 9 meters. So that means again, I need to identify the node number which is corresponding to this 9 meters distance located at 9 meters from point A. So for that, I'll apply this support. Then coming to this UVL here, so what you do is, suppose if I divide this UVL, so into number of elements, here in the software, what we are doing is, we are dividing the load into, or this entire span, we are dividing into some number of elements. Let us say if we are taking it as 0.2 mm, 0.2 meters is going to be the element length. So this total distance is 9 meters. So then, so how many number of elements I am going to get is 9 divided by 0.2, which is going to be 45 elements. So I will get 45 elements here. So therefore, to apply, I need to apply this UDL for the 45 elements. But this is not, the load is not same for all the 45 elements. Suppose if I take, okay, 1 minute, I'll go to the drawings. Suppose if I divide into 2 elements, then what I have to do? Suppose let us say I divided, so 2 elements, something like this. This is one element and this is another element. So if you observe these 2 elements, the load is not same. So for this first element, it is a UVL, uniformly varying load from 0 to some maximum value. Now if I take the other part of the span, so that is this element. If I take this element, it is going to be, it's not 0 at the starting and it is going to be the some other value at the end. So that means here it is a trapezoid load. So that means here what happens is, for each element, whatever may be the number of elements here I have, for each element the load is not same. It is going to change also. Suppose if I divided one to one more element, let us say I taken one more element here. So then if that is the case, here the load is going to be different. So that means what I need to do is I need to calculate what is the starting load and what is the ending load. So what is the UVL at the starting of the element, that is the first node of element, and what is the UVL at the end of the element. So like that I need to compute for each and every element. Then I need to apply all those loads for each and every element separately, because the load is not same for all the elements. So I need to done it for each and every element separately. So now see, since I am dividing this one into 45 elements, so by calculating all these things and applying the load UVL for each and every element, it is going to be somewhat tedious. So now to reduce that, what I'll do is, Renka, madam phone చేసింది. So what I'll do is I'll write a simple what you can call do loop. So I'll write a do loop which will do my so do loop is nothing but simply repeated task it will going to do for number of times. So the software will have in the software that provision is there. So don't think that it is a do loop means you need to write a big program or something like that. So a simple macro is sufficient to do that. So here for that I'll show you what is the do loop we need to use, or what is the syntax for that. Here if you see that here, the first line in the first line of your the do loop is it will start with the star do. So you need always every command will start with a star in the software. So star do comma k. K means, so this is the variable how many number of times I need to repeat the same task. So that is a k. For that I am assigning the variable k. So 1 comma 45. So that means I am repeating this process 45 times. Or this 1 comma 45 comma 1 indicates that. So starting loop number and end loop number, and what is the increment for each loop. That's what I need to specify here. So 1 is the starting and 45. Since I have 45 elements, I need to go for 45 here. And this 1 means after completion of the first loop, the increment is going to be 1. So that means first it will take first element, then once that is comes end, then it will come to the next iteration. In the next iteration, it has to take it as a value of 1 plus 1, 2. Then it will complete that iteration. Then 2 plus 3, 2 plus 1, 3. Like that, it will go on. So that means the increment value for each loop it is 1 for k. Then so of course that means this first line what it will do is for every iteration it will select a particular element. So that is in first iteration it will take first element, in second iteration second element, third element, fourth element, like that it will do. So this first statement. Then what about the second statement here? The second statement what we need to do is we need to apply that UVL for each and every element. So for that SF beam is the command. So in the previous class also we already seen. So that is the pressure on the beams. So the same is described as SF beam. Then so K here, whatever K I am selecting, I am applying that K here. So that means I am applying for that particular element. Then these are the things we need to define in the software again. So that is load key. We already done. The load key is going to be the 2 in case of this shear force acting in the y direction. So I have to use this one 2. Then pressure load. Then this one and this one. This is going to be the your values of that pressure at the starting of the element and at the end of the element. So suppose if I take k is equal to 1, so here what is the load it is going to be means 1 minus 1, that is 0. So 0 is the starting, and at the end of the first element it is 30 by 45, because I am dividing this one into 45 elements. The total load should be divided into 45 parts. So therefore 30 by 45 is going to be the load at the end of the second element, so first element. Then if I move on to the next element, it is going to be k become now 2. So then end of the first load is going to be the start of the second load, second element. So therefore they will get, so k 1 minus 1. So it is 2 minus 1 into 30 divided by 45, which is nothing but 1 into 30 by 45. That is the start of the second element, and k is equal to 2 is going to be the end of the second element. So like that it will go on. So that means it will apply your UDL throughout the length. So once you've done that, So then the remaining process is going to be straightforward. So we need to solve it. We apply the loads and we apply the boundary conditions. Then we need to solve it. Once you solve the problem, then what you need to do is you need to, okay, this is the your FE model. So I have already uploaded this document in our global classroom. You can go through that. You can see that this is going to be the bound. If you apply all those constraints and loads, it will look like something like this. So this is going to be your FE model for the problem. So once I done that, then we need to calculate what are the support reactions. So left support, right support, and roller support is also there. You need to take the values from that, and you need to take the solution, whatever I given above picture. You need to take those values and you need to compare that. Maybe you're spelling correct. Location. So then, okay. So then you need to take, you need to identify what is the maximum deflection and its location. So at what location that maximum deflection is occurring, and what is the magnitude of that maximum deflection. So if you want, you can compute that analytical solution and you can find the percentage of all this. If you are not able to do that, you just leave that as a blank. Then similarly, so you need to take the you need to draw the shear force bending moment diagram. From the shear force bending moment diagram, we can find out what is the maximum positive bending moment and what is the negative bending moment. So, and also you take a image of shear force diagram from the software and you need to paste it here. So here, the analytical values, you can compare it. So the solution is already given. From that solution, you take the analytical values and you compare it. Similarly, you need to do it for the bending moment also. So like this, we can solve the problem. So now I'll take you to the software and I'll show you how to solve this problem so that you can understand how you can solve this problem in the software. So I already opened the software here. So to minimize the time, okay, what I will do is I already told you how to set up the suspensions, how to set up the working directory, all those things. Or if you want, you can select here your working directory. Or if you want to change the job name, you can change the job name also here. I'll take it as continuous beam. I'll give the name as continuous beam. So now you can take you can see here its name is changed to continuous beam. Now first we'll select our element type, which is beam 189, beam 183 node. So you can see here it is a 3 node 189 3 node element. So I'll select that. Then I'll define the material properties through material models. I need to go for structural because I'm solving only structural mechanics problem. Elastic, isotropic. Then X modulus is 200 GPa. If I convert that one into kilonewton per meter square, it will become 200 into 10 power 6. Poisson's ratio is not given. I'll take it as 0. Then I need to define the section for the beam. So I'll go for sections, beam sections. In that I need to select common section. Since he has given a solid circular cross section of diameter, he has given 250 mm. So if I convert that one into meters and I want to enter it as a radius here, I need to enter it as 0.125 meters as a radius. Then click OK. So then that's it. So these are the element attributes what we need to define. Then I'll go for creation of the key points. So meantime, what I'll do is I'll try to save it in between. Sometimes it may crash, so that's why I'm saving it. So first I'll create. So I'll take the origin as a reference. So there, the first key point is at 0, 0. At 0. So simply I'll apply. I'll use default numbering. The software will give you automatic numbering for you. So no need to give a year. Key point number is 1, 2 like that. Software will automatically will give you the numbering to the all the key points. So if I left anything here, so like XYZ location in active coordinate system, if I left anything blank here, so default value it is going to take 0. So therefore, since first one is 0, I'll simply leave it blank and I'll click apply. Then for second one is point B, which is at a distance of 9 meters. I need to apply 9 here for X coordinate. So then I need to enter 9 and then I need to click apply. Then next point it is at 12. So I need to apply. Then last one is going to be at 15. So I need to click now OK. See, now you can see that you have 4 key points is created. If you want, whether you created them properly or not, you can check that also. So key point coordinates only, you can do it. So here 1 is at 0, 2 is at 9 and 3 is at 12 and 4 is at 15. Suppose by mistake if you have done something wrong or you are inputting the values wrongly, then what you need to do is you need to go for delete. Like create here, you have a delete option. In the delete option, you need to delete these key points. Again, you need to recreate it. Anyway, here we have done it properly. So I don't need to delete it. So then I'll move to the next step, that is using these key points, I'll create the lines. So for that, I'll go for lines, straight lines. Then first it was asking for, you need to select the endpoints for the line to create the lines. Either you can pick the values here or you can enter the values here also in the dialog box. Suppose if I say 1, 2, if I enter 1, 2 and click apply, automatically it will be create the line between 1 and 2. So that means I can pick the values here or I can enter the values here. So then similarly 2, 3 apply. Then I'll pick this value. If you want, I can pick this value 3, 4. Like that also I can do this. So that means I created the lines. So once I create the lines, then I need to convert these lines. Whatever lines is there, these are the geometric entities only. I need to convert these things into FE model. So to do that, I need to open the mesh tool that is available under meshing. Go for mesh tool. So now first I will specify the element edge length. So like we already discussed, our entire model should consist of only 75 elements. So therefore in that case I need to divide this each line into some particular number of elements. So therefore such that the each element length is going to be 0.2 meters. So I'll specify that here. So you have a under size controls, you have a lines here. Of course you have other options also. You can specify it for the global, means entire volume or areas or layers or something like that. But for this particular problem, we required only this. We need to define the number of divisions or maybe element size for the lines. So I'll click on set here. Then it is asking for you select the lines which you want to apply the divisions. So simply what I'll do is I need to apply for all the lines here, so that to do that what I'll do is simply I'll pick all. So pick all means it will select all the lines. Then what is the edge length I need to give? I need to give it as 0.2. Then click OK. See, now it is showing the divisions, but still it is not meshed. It is showing the divisions. Each line is divided something like that. But the meshing is not done yet. So still you need to do the meshing. So for that, what you have to do is now you have to come to the second portion of this mesh tool. Here you need to click mesh. Then what you have to do is again I need to mesh all the lines. Simply I'll pick all. I'll use pick all option. Now it is mesh. So if you want to see, you can see now here either you can go for list or you can go for plot here. List nodes. If I say nodes, okay, by coordinates I'll list out. See here, node number 1, it starts from their XYZ coordinates are also there. So if you go down here, it is 151 nodes. Like what I mentioned in our document also, we should have 151 nodes and 75 elements. So now if I list the elements here, you can see that the number of elements also there. See, the maximum number is only 75. Right? So like this, you can convert your geometry into FE model. Of course. So then we'll move on to the next problem. Next step in the problem. For that, we need this window. That is where I want to apply the constraints. So for that, I should know this at a given particular location, what is the node number, so that I can apply the constraint to that particular number. So for that, what I'll do is okay. So now if you go to this document again here, so you have two fixed supports. One is at left hand and another is at right hand. That means x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 15. You have two fixed supports, and at x is equal to 9 meters, you have a roller support. So first I need to apply that. So I know at x is equal to 0, no number is 1. You can see here, node 1 is at x is equal to 0. Then at x is equal to 15 meters. So that is the last node. So what is the node number at x is equal to 15? See, you are not seeing here somewhere here 15, but you have a 15 node number also at x is equal to 15. Where it is? You have only up to 15, 154, 9. Okay, what I'll do is I will list the nodes according to x coordinate. Then you can easily identify that. See now your node number 122. 122 is located at 15. X is 15. Maybe in this also it is there, but we are okay. So you can see here that is here also it is there, but we overlooked it. So that means at node 1 I have a fixed support. At node 122 also I have a fixed support. Now I'll apply that here. See, I'll close one thing here. So I'll go for next loads, define loads, apply structural displacement on nodes. Then here what I'll do is, since I know the node number, simply I'll enter those numbers 1, 122. Then click OK. Then since they are fixed, I need to apply all degrees of freedom. So I need to constrain all degrees of freedom. Here I'll select all degrees of freedom. Actually constraint means its value is 0. So I want to enter 0 here. So because if I leave that blank also, defaultly it will take 0. So no need to enter anything, or if you want, you can enter 0 here. Click OK. See, now you can see that at the two ends it is placing the constraints. So the blue colors are for displacement, and yellow colors are for the rotation. Two triangles are there for rotation, and one single triangle will be there for the displacement constraint. Okay, right. So we at the ends we apply the fixed support. Now at a distance of 9 meters, we have a roller support, which is a flexible support. So now we need to apply that. So for that, I need to identify the first its corresponding node number. At node x is equal to 9, what is the node number? Again, I'll open this nlist command. In that, see, I can see node number 2 is corresponding to are located at x is equal to 9 meters. So now I need to apply the constraint for node number 2. So again, I'll go here structural displacement, and then I'll click the nodes. Then I'll enter here 2. Then click OK. So then what I do is, now instead of all degrees of freedom, I need to unselect this all degree of freedom. I need to select UI, and at this location he has given a displacement of minus 0.03. 30 mm, 30 into 10 power minus 3. So if I do that, I'll get 0.03. Then I'll click OK. So now you can see that the constraint is placed here also. So the constraints are over now. Next step, what we need to do is we need to apply the given loads. So again, at x is equal to 12 meters. See, you have a point load of 10 kilonewtons. So again, I need to apply a point load for this for the node which is located at 12 meters. So first I should know where it is, or what is its corresponding number. So for 12 meters, again I'll open this here. So you can see here, node number 92 is corresponding to those 12 meters. So therefore, I need to apply the force to this node number 92. So for that, again what I'll do is, I'll go for here structural. Then instead of displacement, now I have to select it as a force on nodes. Then here already know the number, its number. So simply I'll enter the number. Instead of picking here, what I'll do is I'll enter here 92. Then okay. Then it is asking for the load. So we know the load is in the y direction and its magnitude is 100, but it is acting in the negative direction. I need to give it as a negative 100. Then click OK. See, now it is applied here. So then next comes, you need to apply your UVL. So for that UVL, like I already told to you, already explained you the macro or a mini program, whatever you call it as. So you need to use that macro. You need to use the macro to apply the load. So then for that, what I need to do is, Simply, I'll copy this, Control C. Then this is your command window. So in this command window, you need to paste it. Then you need to enter. See, it is applied that load. So, but first instant it is looking like a UDL. But if you go for replot, it will show, or multiplot, it will show you. See now, it will show you also how the load is varying from this point to this point also. Here it is 0, minimum value, and maximum value is 30. So that's what we need to apply here. So you can see this also. So now this is the picture what I have given to you as your FE model. So you can observe that the same thing here. You can you can see it here also. Right. So with this, I think we completed modeling. Complete modeling is over. So that means pre-processing stage is over. We apply the first we created the geometry, we convert that geometry into FE model, then we apply the constraints and we apply the loads also. Then we'll move on to the solution. So I'll close pre-processor, I'll go for solution. Here everything is default settings. So because your analysis type is static analysis, so here default setting is going to be static. So no need to define anything. That's why I'm not going to set anything in the solution controls. So only thing is I need to solve it here. That's it. Solve current load step, then click OK. So it won't take much time to solve it. So once it is done, then we'll move on to general post processor to see the results. So for that, in that first we need to check the support reactions. So for that, what I'll do is I'll go for list results. In the list results, you can see here you have an option, a reaction solution. So click on that. Here you have two results. So because your ends are fixed, because of fixing, you have a force reaction as well as a moment reaction. So either you can select Fy and Mz, or you can select all items. Either way you can do it. So I'll pick Fy and Mz. So you cannot pick something like this. Then what I'll do is simply I'll use this all items. Then what you can see is it lists out all the solutions. See here, I have 3 supports. You can see 1, 2, and 22. So then at that location, what is Fy? Fy means the vertical force reaction. If it is positive, upward. If it is negative, it is downward. At node 2, this is the value. And at node 3, at the, maybe it's not node 2 or node 3. Okay, so anyway, second node is at the roller support and 122 is the at right fixed end. So then, see here, one check whether your solution is correct or not, you can apply, you can check like this. Whatever may be the total load is applied to your beam, that should be sum of your reactions. If you sum of all the reactions here, whatever value you got it. So here we are getting 235 kilonewtons. The total load we applied, whether it is 235 newtons or not, we can check it. So here it is 100 kilonewtons, and this UVL is there. You can easily calculate the magnitude of UVL is nothing but area of this loading diagram. That is half into base into height, half into 9 into 30. So if you calculate that, so you'll get that one as a 40 half into how much you are going to get. So you'll get it as a 9 into 30, 270 divided by 2. So that is 135. This is 135 and this is 100. Total 235. You can check that here. This is one kind of validation for your model, whether you are getting the result properly or not. Your total reactions are also equal to 235 kilonewtons. Means it is maybe we don't know. In first check, our preliminary check, your solution is okay. It looks like okay. So then, so I saw this. I got the reactions here. So I'll note down these reactions and I'll write that in the table provided in that document. So in the first table, that is nodal support reactions, right? Yes, support reactions. So I'll write these things here and I'll fill it here. Then I'll from the analytical solution, I'll take those values and I'll compute the error for that also. So always make sure that your error should be less than 5%. Otherwise, if it is more than 5%, you need to write what are the reasons for that or how you can improve your solution accuracy. Like that, you need to write in that your results discussion. Then what is the next one? So I got the reactions. Then I need to find out what is the maximum deflection and its location. So for that, okay, first what I'll do is I want to see how it is the beam is going to deflect. Well, that means what is the deflection curve. So for that, what you need to do is you need to go for plot results, then nodal solution. In that, I need to select Y component of displacement. You can see the beam is deflecting something like this. So in that, here it is showing this is the maximum deflection. Even though it is showing it as minimum, why it is showing minimum means negative because the deflection is negative, so minus value it is showing as a minimum value, but the maximum deflection is going to be minus 0.34137. But by looking at this, I can visualize how the beam is deflecting, but I don't know what is the exact location where this maximum deflection is occurring. For that, again, what I need to do is I need to go for list results here, then nodal solution, then degree of freedom solution, then y component of displacement, click OK. See now, at each node you will get here, at each node what is going to be the deflection. So then, but I want the maximum value, I'll completely go down this here. So it is going to be at node number 72, you are getting the maximum deflection. That is 0.034137, whatever value it is showing here, that you are getting it as node number 72. But, so what is the location corresponding to this node number 72? Again, what you need to do is you need to go for here list nodes. In that, you can easily see that, you can easily identify at node number 72 corresponding to which location. So I'll scroll down this. So in this, I have a 72 node number here. So which is corresponding to x is equal to 7. That means at x is equal to 7 meters, your maximum deflection is occurring. That means in between the first span in the AB only the maximum deflection is occurring. Okay. So I'll note down this. So this is going to be the maximum deflection, and this is going to be the location of that maximum deflection. So once you note down that, so that part of the table is also over now. So then, if you are able to calculate the analytical solution, you calculate it. Otherwise, you leave this blank. So then we'll move on to the next one, that is shear force diagram and bending moment diagram. So for that, so we already know how to draw the shear force bending moment diagram for the beam. We already discussed in the previous class. Here we'll use the same approach to do that. So first we need to define the element table. So go for define element table, then click on add. So since it is shear force and bending moment is varying from element to element, so I need to define this for node to node also Smij. Then what I need to do here is enter 6, then apply. Then I need to give the label as SMJ, SF instead of SM. Shear force, I'll take shear force J, that is at node J. Then by sequence number, then here it is again, I need to enter 6 than 19. These things I already shown you in the previous class, how you need to, why you are taking 6 or 19 or something like that. So no need to, I think no need to explain again. Then bending moment, BMI, by sequence number, then it is 3, apply. Then BMJ, sequence number, then it is 16. Okay, so once you've done these things, so then you can close it. Again here you can list it or you can plot it. Suppose if I want to list it, I'll go for list element table. So I'll select something like this. Or if I want, I can select all 4 also. So I'll go for listing. That means for each element, it is giving what is the value of shear force and what is the value of bending moment. See, bending moment is not constant, whereas shear force is constant in the first element. Even shear force is also not constant. See, at node starting, it is minus 69.549. At the end of the element, it is 69.483. Similarly, bending moment is minus 196, minus 182. So like that, it is varying. So you can list all the values for each and every element. For the all 75 elements, you will get what is the bending moment at the start of the element, or what is the bending moment at the end of the element. So similarly, shear force also. If you want, you can see like this, or else you can go for plot results, then line element results. Then you need to, if you want to go for shear force diagram, you need to select SFI and SFJ, then click OK. So this is going to be your shear force diagram. So now here you can see here red is 90 here and this blue is minus 69.549. So that also you can clearly check here also. Minus 69.549, that is at this first, at this location, and this red is maximum is 90.775, that is occurring at the last element. You can see that also here, 90.773, right? So If you don't know exactly, sometimes what happens is this red will come in between somewhere else. So if you want to know what is the value at that particular location, then you need to refer to this list results. Okay, so now what you need to do is, in order to capture this, what you have to do is you have to go for your plot controls. Then you need to click on hard copy to the file. Then whatever format you want, whether it is bitmap format or TIFF or JPEG or MPG, sorry, PNG, you can select that. Here you need to select a reverse video option, then click OK. Automatically it will be saved in your working directory. So like this. So if I open my working directory, I set it in a simulation. Okay, analysis lab. I think it is there in this. No, it is not in analysis lab. Maybe simulation lab. I have a working directory. Okay, so okay, it is continuous beam. So I need to go to my working directory and then I can open it. So you will get an image something like this. Later, if you want, you can crop these unnecessary things. If you want, you can crop all those things and you can paste this diagram into your document. Okay, that is about this Air Force diagram. Similarly, I can draw the bending moment diagram also. So for that, what you need to go again, line element results. Here instead of SFI, you need to go for BMI and BMJ. So BMI is the starting of the element and BMJ is the end of the element. See, this is going to be the bending moment diagram you are going to get from this one. Okay, so in this, if you want to pick what is in the table, you need to pick what is the maximum value, what is the minimum value. You can see here minimum value, that is negative value here you are getting, and positive value also you are getting here. So this is corresponding to the shear force values, and these are corresponding to the bending moment values. So from this you can pick it. So you can write in the table and then you can compare the solution. Here, or for the picture, if you want to have an image, you can take this is the image. So like that, you can fill the table and you can put your shear force and bending moment diagrams also. Okay, so I think this is what we need to do in this experiment. Okay, I think it is over from my side. If you have any query, you can ask now. Okay, maybe 10 more minutes are there, 10-15. So I think we can spend this remaining 10 minutes on the questions. If you have any question, you can ask it. Otherwise, you can leave. You don't have any question, you can leave. That is not an issue.
సార్ యూవీఎల్ క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేశారు కదా, ఒకసారి అది చెప్తారా?
Okay. I'll go to the document again. Okay, maybe right now I closed it. Okay. Okay, so here, maybe better I'll open a paint here. See, my load is varying something like this, right? It is here at the left hand it is 0, right hand it is 30. Okay, now if I divide this one into number of elements, then what happens? Let us say here is one element is there for me. I am dividing one more element. Let us say how many number of elements? 4 elements, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 elements divided. Okay, so in this, so in the problem what he has given, here it is 0, here 30 he has given, but I want to define the load for this element, means I should know what is the end of this element, what is the load here. Similarly, if I want to define the load for this element, I need to know what is the starting and what is the ending. Only you know here from the given loading diagram, you know what is the starting value of and what is the ending value. So now what I need to do is I need to interpolate these values. See, now the total 30 degrees, 30 kilonewtons per meter is there, but I am dividing that one into equal number of divisions, right? So each division how much I am going to get here? If I divide this one into 4 parts, so it is 30 by 4. So that means, so for each element, the increment is 30 by 4. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
So that means here 0, here what is the load? 35 4, that is 7.5 is going to be the
7.5.
load here. So then here 7.5, then here it is 15, here it is 22.5, here it is going to be 30, right? So that means depending upon your number of elements, first you need to calculate what is the increment in the load. So now in our particular problem, what we are doing, we are dividing into 45 elements. So therefore, what should be the increment? 30 divided by 0.5. So that means for each element, the load should increment by 30 divided by 45. That means around 1 by 50, 3 by, okay. So maybe 30 by 15 only, I'll take that is the increment as 30 by 15 only. So we don't bother whatever may be the value. So it is up to calculation only, it is not a big deal. So I need to do 30 by 45. So then for each element, see here, it is, now if I take first element, so first element is this one. So in the first element, it is 0, then it is 7.5. So I need to apply that. Or in case of 45 division of number of element divisions, so for first node, it is 0. Sorry, for starting, it is 0. And at this point, it is going to be 30 divided by 45.5. So for 45. So I need to apply that. So how I am applying that here? Because I need to repeat in the loop. So first I'll take k is equal to 1. So now when k is equal to 1, what it is happen? It becomes 0 only. K minus 1 into 30 by 45 means at the start of the element it is 0. At the end of the element k is equal to 1 means it is 30 by 45. Then when come to the second element, then what happens? What is maybe the end of the first element load? That is the start of the load for the second element. So now when k is equal to here, what happens? It is 30 by 45, comma, end of the element it is 2 into 30 by 45. So similarly, if I go for 3, 2 into 30 by 45 is the starting, and 3 into 30 by 45 is the ending. So like that, the load goes on increasing, and final element you are giving the only that much increment. So for each load, for each element, you are giving the increment. So k is incrementing here 1. That's why 1, 2, 3. That means for every element, I am adding a 30 divided by 45 kilonewton per meter load intensity. So from the starting to the ending, so that you will get the total load. Is it clear?
Clear, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Only thing is we need to write a simple macro. So if you want to know about all these things, do loop all these things, if you can go for the help document in the software, there he has given the syntax, everything. Or else simply if you type here star do also, it will give you the syntax. Let us say if I see here star do, if I type like that, see you can see here parameter, it is showing initial value, final value, increment. So that's what I did here. So whatever syntax it is showing here, do parameter, I have taken it as parameter as k, initial value is 1, final value is 45 and increment is 1. Why I have to take increment as 1? Because my node number, element number is increasing continuously. From 1 to 45 I need to apply. So therefore I can take it as 1, 45, 1. Or else if you want to use alternatively, if you want to apply, you can use like that also. But in our problem, we can't do like that. We need to continuously apply, so I can take like this. Similarly, if you want to know what is this SF beam command, you can type here simply SF beam here. It will show you the syntax here also. See, you can see element label, L key, label value 1, value 2, value 1, value 2, or value I, value J. Then value 2i like that. You can so many options are there, but we'll use only up to value J. So that's what I did. I defined here. So that is shear force, element number you need to define. Element number is K. So since I defined the parameter for the element number as K, you have K here. Then load key is 2. 2 indicates that you are applying force in the vertical y direction. So y direction means it is 2. Z direction means 1. So x direction is 3. Like that in the software he has given the labeling values. If you go through that element document or element library, you can know all those things. So anyway, so because you know only you need to enter 2, why you need to enter is, the reason for that is since your load is in the y direction, you need to enter 2. Or if you want to know other things, you can refer that element library document, you will get it. Pressure is nothing but the beam pressure again. So this is the load I and this is our value I, value J. So you can see here in the syntax also you can see value I and value J is there. So I am giving value I and value J for each element. That is the only thing. So end do means this is the loop for this end of the loop. If it is satisfied, the loop will end. When it reaches k is equal to 45. I hope it is clear now. Maybe if not, you can ask any other doubt, anything. Any other doubts? Okay. Okay. So if you don't have any doubt now, then I can close the class. I think you can respond for your attendance. I think you might have got that link. Yes, it is there to respond for that attendance. I think most of you responded, no issue. So then, if you don't have any doubts now, you can leave. I will also close the class.
సార్ 9 వచ్చిందా సార్ అటెండెన్స్?